What's up, guys? So this is the second video of my PuckPedia off-season series that I'm doing. Today we got the Bruins. So taking a look right now at this roster for the off-season, there are a lot of weaknesses that I see. I think the Bruins are currently in a state where they want to retool without having to go into a full rebuild. So I think the goal for their offseason is just kind of like the Penguins, is to get younger and sell high on some guys who they could get some value out of, and get some picks and prospects in return. So right now there's a big hole at their left wing. They have pretty much no left wingers. They have a few guys who could slot in over there. And the top six is also pretty weak. I will preface by saying I'm not going to be finding a new 1C for the Bruins just because I don't think they're there yet. Elias Lindholm is probably going to be the guy again next year. So hopefully, if Bruins fans are lucky, he'll bounce back. But also for defense, the defense is pretty strong still. They have a couple guys who are RFAs who I do plan on bringing back, I think, like Lowry and maybe Ian Mitchell, but maybe we find someone else to fill that 3 RD hole. And also the goaltending is still pretty strong with Swayman. So first moves, let's sign the RFAs that the team has. I think Geeky is definitely going to get brought back. I'd say the range is somewhere in 6x6. If you're the Bruins, I think you kind of want to sign him for as long as possible and get as much value out of him as you can. But I think 6 years is fair, and I think 6 million is a good AAV. I think by the end of the contract, Geeky could definitely easily be worth more than that, but I think for the long-term security, this is a good deal for both sides. So we'll sign Geeky to a 6x6. Lowry, I think he's going to go for a bridge deal, just because I think his value in the future, his ceiling is still kind of up in the air. No one really knows what it is. So I think as of right now, he would probably sign for 2 years at about 3.5 mil if I had to guess. Because if he were to sign long term, I think it would be at a lower AAV than what he could easily be worth. I think if it was like 5 years, it'd be like 4.5 mil. And I think by the end of that deal, he could easily be worth way more than that. So I think going for a shorter term deal and kind of proving his worth to getting a big contract is probably the route that he would go. We'll also bring back Kuznetsov. He's pretty young. Probably hasn't, in his career panned out as much as, the Wild and now the Bruins have hoped. But he's still a solid, like, bottom 6 center, I think. So, yeah, we'll sign him 2 years for 1 mil. And then we'll bring back Ian Mitchell pretty cheap, I think. I think this would be fair. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we could also bring back Lauko for depth, probably like 950K, probably only for 1 year. And then Beecher as well, we will bring back. I say 2 years, about 1.5 mil. It's good for him. And the rest of these guys, I think you can kind of do whatever with them. They'll probably sign some of them to play them in the minors, as well as some of these prospects. But I'm not going to really bother with all that. I'm more focused just on, the Bruins roster for this upcoming season. I don't really see any of these guys being a big part of it, unless some of them overperform or make the team out of camp. So now let's see, with the new additions we got, let's start filling in some of these holes. Lauko is a lefty, so we'll put him here on the left wing. Geeky we'll put on the first line. We'll put Pasta on the left and him on the right. And I'll also put Zacha here on the left on the first line or second line. And then put Middlestat. So this isn't the team we're going to stay with, but so far now that the young guys are signed, it makes things a little bit easier to get the full picture. So I think now looking at the roster, if you're going to trade anyone, it should be Zacha. I think Zacha is probably the best trade chip that the Bruins have at the moment, because I don't think they want to get rid of like the big guys like Pasta, Swayman, and McAvoy. So I think trading Zacha here to a team that needs a 2C is what's best for the Bruins to do. So I think the best team that could be a fit for him would be the Red Wings. I think they should get rid of one of Kopp or both, one or both of Kopp and or Comfer. So one of these two, if not both, are probably gone, and the other you could put below at 3C, below Zaka. So we'll send Zaka to them with center prospect Dean Letourneau. He was just a first-round pick by the Bruins this past year. Big 6'7" center. Had a bit of a down year in the NCAA, but still not terrible overall. Still a very good prospect. And what we're going to get back is Nate Danielson. So he's better than Letourneau, but we'll swap center prospects. Plus, they get the value in Zaka, and we'll do them a favor, take on the whole contract, and they will also give a second. So maybe even a third too. So let me see. So give them Zaka and Letourneau. So that's a second line center for them, and they get a center prospect. So the value we get from Danielson kind of goes towards both of those, towards replacing Letourneau plus some of Zaka, as well as like the third, and then the second for the whole cap dump. I think this trade's pretty close to even for both sides. Red Wings fans probably wouldn't like it, but I think this is a pretty realistic trade, and I think the value is pretty fair for both sides. So we'll go ahead and submit that trade. So now with Danielson, I think he'll probably slot in at 3C. So the left wing is still pretty weak here. So looking at my trade board that I made, / UFA board now, I think the Bruins need a left winger. So I think one guy to trade for could be Lawson Krause. He's on the block in Utah, and he's most likely not going to stay there. And he could be some, low-end top 6 help for the Bruins. He wouldn't be very good, but he could fill that hole. He's only 27, so you never know. Maybe you could get a few more good years out of him too after his current deal expires and whatnot. So I think in order to get him, it would take, let's see, I think Georgi Merkulov. He's a young center. He's like 24. He got some minutes with the Bruins last year. But we'll send Merkulov and let's see, we'll send the third for this year for Lawson Krause. I think that's pretty fair. And I could see Utah doing that. It's not like Krause's value is super high, so I see this as a pretty fair trade. So that'll shift him up there. I want to keep Poitras, Lysell, and Minton all in the lineup. I think they could all be full-time NHLers next year. And they're young, and the Bruins aren't going to be very good. So I think giving them some minutes on a low-pressure team would be useful for them and their development. But yeah, so let's see. Next move I think the Bruins should make is I think they should take on a cap dump this summer and get some assets for it. And I think the best guy to take on could be Andre Palat. His cap hit's pretty hefty, so you could probably get a decent return for taking it on. I think the Bruins could get Seamus Casey, young right-hand defensive prospect. And clearly, based off the Bruins roster, their right side is a little weak after McAvoy. So I think what we'll do here is we'll buy out Hull first. Trade for Hull to buy him out. We'll buy him out for the Wings. And we'll probably slot Mitchell down here. He'll be our extra defenseman. And then, getting Casey helps fill that hole on the right D here. And he could be a young guy that could stay in the system for a while and, develop through the Bruins organization. So we'll get, in return for buying out or for taking on the Palat cap dump, we'll get Seamus Casey. And because of that, we'll have to give him probably a third. We'll give him our third for next year. And we'll also take a third as well. So we get a third for this current draft that's about to happen, and then give them next year's third. And also The Bruins, I believe, are drafting at around 7, either 6 or 7. And I believe that they will draft Caleb Desnoyers. Um, so I think he could be a guy who could follow them and would be a good fit for them. I don't know quite exactly how long his NHL ETA is, if he's ready or not. But we'll create him as a player. Let's see where to go. And I think right now he'll probably have to do 1 year in the minors. So we'll put him down there for now. And maybe they don't get him and they get someone else. Either way, I don't think whoever the Bruins draft in the first round will play on the team full time. Maybe they'll get like a trial at the beginning of the season if they can make the team out of camp. But I don't think this draft is strong enough to have any guys other than like Schaefer and Misa and Hagens and like maybe Frondell, maybe Martone as well. But I think most guys in this draft are probably 1 year away from being in the NHL, or at least in this first round. So yeah, we'll put Palat in here on the third line, or honestly, we could put Casper over him. And then Casey here at the 3RD. I'm looking at the wings here, and it does still kind of look a little weak, especially in the top 6. So what I want to do about that is maybe trade Kuznetsov, honestly, because there's a lot of guys who could play center. And then push maybe Beecher down, put Lizell here. All right, actually, we'll swap these two. We'll do that. Trade Kuznetsov, and then sign a UFA to put here. So honestly, it doesn't really matter who you trade him to. Kind of just whatever team needs a depth center. So I'm not going to really waste my time trying to find an accurate trade. I think you could probably get like a third for him. He's young. He's 22. Probably has. I mean, I know when he was drafted, he had a ceiling of top 6. So there's probably a lot of untapped potential for him to still be a top 6 center. But we'll trade him for a third. He could go to whatever team. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. And then to fill that hole, I think the best UFA winger to sign would be Mangiapane. Just because he's a guy who could play, he could fill in, like a top 6 role. But also, you could get trade value out of him. He's not going to be a big impact player who you'll want to keep, and you could trade him sometime throughout his contract to get some value in return to help with the rebuild. Maybe get, giving him a high minute role. He could, put up high point totals, then driving his value up. And then you trade him for a pick or a prospect a few years down the line, give him to like a competitive team or whatever, and get some young pieces to help with the rebuild. So I think that would be a smart signing for the Bruins. It's not a long-term commitment. It's not too much money commitment. So as of right now, have $500K in cap space. This might honestly do it for this roster. I think these are some good offseason moves for the Bruins. It helps address a need of getting some younger, higher-end players. Get Danielson and James Casey, who are both, higher-end young guys at their positions. You kind of fill some top 6 holes on low, commitment, low-budget contracts with Krause and Mangiapane. You don't really give up a ton to get either of them, and it's not a big financial commitment. And you also get you take on a cap dump and 2 of them in Hull and Palat, and get some assets in return for those. And then Hull you can buy out. It's only a 2-year buyout at $1.1 million. That's not going to kill the Bruins at all, especially since they're not going to be good over the next few years. And this leaves the team looking like this for this upcoming season. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this roster. If you think these are some good moves for the Bruins to make. If you think they're fair. I'll also drop the link to the roster down below, and you can go comment directly in PuckPedia on the roster. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This is only the second episode in a whole series that I'm doing. I'm doing one of these for every team. So if you didn't see the last one, go check that out. It's the Ducks video. And yeah, Calgary coming soon, or Buffalo coming soon. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys later. Peace.